All right, welcome back up on the mountain today.
So today we picked up a nice Chinese H-frame press. It's the 12-ton variety. It came with this handy dandy hand pump.
We're not going to be using that.
I went ahead and picked up this Vivor, I don't know, 10,000 PSI hydraulic pump.
It pulls about 13 amps, so we need to make sure that's going to work with our generator up at the blacksmith shop.
The hydraulic press itself doesn't appear to be built very strong, so we may have to do some reinforcement on that. I've already cut these legs off. They stuck out the back and the front. We're going to build a nice heavy bench for the bottom.
And space is a little bit limited in the blacksmith shop, so we'll try to compactize it a little bit.
I'm not really liking this pin layout for the gantry piece. Came with some cheesy looking 1-inch, well, those are probably 3/4 inch steel plates. I had some square stock laying around, so I threw them on here. It does have the round piston here on the top, and there's a removable, come on DP, remove this thing. It has a removable little sled that goes on the end, and I think that's going to work out well. I can get some, whatever this diameter is, pipe, cut little blocks to weld onto some steel plates, and that should give us some nice upper dies. And then we're going to have to probably get a piece of steel plate that fits exactly in here, weld it to this gantry, and make some type of a receiver so we can put plates on the bottom.
And that way we can do flat dies or fuller dies or, I don't know, something else.
The model number on this is HPB10120R.
We don't know what those numbers mean. We don't really care.
I'm also not liking how this top plate is attached. It just has 2 bolts that kind of clamp down on here, and it looks a little janky. So we may get a flat bar of steel that fits in here exactly.
It does mean we're going to have to cut a hole for that hydraulic piston to go through it, but we'll make it work.
Another thing I could do is maybe get 2 smaller pieces of steel that fit on either side, and we could just weld it all together.
That would probably be better.
Now the hydraulic power pump says it's going to pull 13 amps. Our little Predator generator says it has a maximum of 13.3 amps.
I'm sure that's not going to work out.
Well, let's give this thing a try, see if it does have enough to squish some metal. All right, we have some blocks of steel stacked up here. We do have a power switch that we turn on. Hopefully the generator stays running.
So far, so good.
We are going to figure out how to mount these blocks better because they are sliding all over the place. All right, we put some high quality blue painter's tape on here to keep these blocks from moving around. We have our piston up here on the top. Turn on our power pack.
It is running on the generator, so that's pretty good.
Looks like we have a little control valve here. When we move that, the piston goes down.
Now I'm moving the handle really slow. I don't want to make this thing blow up the first time we touch it. Okay, we have contact with the metal blocks. Let's go ahead and bump up the pressure, see what happens. There's also a pressure gauge on top, and it looks like it's measuring metric tons and US tons of pressure. So let's look at that. All right, so we ran it up to about 8 metric tons. I think that's all I want to do with the way it's set up right now.
My stack of steel blocks is a little janky and it's a little offset.
So our initial test shows that the power pack will run on the generator. That's a good thing. Next up, we need to build a nice heavy base for this thing.
I went up to the sawmill, found this nice 2-inch thick by about 12-inch wide oak board. I'm sure we can make something out of that. Currently have the thing sitting on a pair of sawhorses that are about 32 inches to the bottom, and that seems just about right. It's well, right about at my belly button here for the middle. We may want to move this thing up higher because this is a long stroke. I don't think we'll ever need something that long, and it does take longer for that piston to come down, so if we can minimize that gap, I think it will be better. So I'm guessing about 33 inches by however wide it is and however deep it is. Let's start cutting some oak. All right, so that gives us two 2-inch by 4-inch oak, mostly straight, 8-foot boards. Now let's go ahead and cut legs. And I think we decided 32, 33 inches should be good. All right, that gives us 4 rustic solid oak 4-inch by 2-inch thick legs to build our table. Now we just need to figure out how deep it needs to be and cut at least 4 of those pieces. Looks like we could get away with about 1 foot. 1 foot wide it is. Let's get those cut. I think we'll go ahead and screw these sides together just like this. So this is one side. Well, and the other side will look just like that, but opposite. All right, that's one side screwed together. Let me get the other side and we'll figure out the next step. All right, we have our two super heavy duty legs built. Now we need to figure out how wide the press is. Looks like from outside flange to outside, we're about 23.5 inches. So then the question is, do we put the legs on the outside or do we flip these around and put the blocks on the outside? I don't know. I think we're going to leave the legs on the outside, and that way I can cut shorter pieces to tie the two halves together. That'll work. All right, so we made the cross pieces a little bit narrower. They are 2 inches by 2 inches, mainly because this whole thing is getting way too heavy. So we'll lighten it up a little bit. All right, we have finished at least the main part of our drastically overbuilt base. It probably weighs about 50, 60 pounds. Let's go ahead and mount the press on top, and then we're gonna have to figure out how to mount the power pack. So that takes care of mounting the press on the oak stand. Now we need to measure this thing and find a nice way to incorporate that along with everything else. So it looks like this power pack is about 10 inches wide and, oh, come on, get out of there. And maybe 13 inches long. We do want the gauge and this valve and the on-off button towards the front of the press. So what I'm thinking is, assuming this is the front of the press, which is the flat part, we could build a shelf right out here, come out 10 inches, overlap this beam a little bit, and maybe put some angle brackets, and pretty much just make it the entire length of this. Now the bad thing is, it would mean that I have to hold the tongs. Let's think about this. I would have to hold the tongs in my left hand and operate the press with my right hand. That may not be the best option. We could shift over to this side, do the same thing, put a shelf out here, 10 inches, the whole length. And that way we would operate the press with our left hand, and it would leave our right hand free to hold the tongs and do whatever else we need to do. So maybe we'll do that. So the only wood I found for that side shelf is this really cool red maple. So we have a couple of lines marked here on the side. Let's get it screwed on there. All right, so we have our maple side shelf installed with entirely too many screws. We have some nice 45-degree brackets here on the bottom to hold it in. I'm pretty sure that's not going anywhere. All right, we have the press completely ready to go. Not really, we've got to make the welding up the dies and things like that. But the base is all ready to go, and I think we could probably take it up to the blacksmith shop and make room in the shop for it. We have the pressure gauge on top. We have the hose routed around and through and back here to the control valve. Control valve is on the little shelf. Seems to be working pretty good. The base is like really strong and heavy. That's good. Next step, we need to replace these pins with something more substantial. Build a deck across here and weld that on. We need to make some bottom and top dies for this thing. It's going to be a work in progress, but I'm happy with the progress so far. You guys get outside, do something fun, come back and tell me about it.